More on that story. I'm joined on set by our French politics editor, Marc Perelman. Hi, Marc. Now, just to start off, this has been a long and drawn-out trial with some obstacles. But at the beginning of the judicial process, Charlie Hebdo, that satirical magazine, republished cartoons of the Prophet, those cartoons that had caused so much outrage in previous years. Since then, two people have been attacked with a knife outside the former offices of Charlie Hebdo. A teacher has been beheaded for showing those caricatures to his students. The climate is extremely tense here in France. How do you see these initial rulings contributing to that?
Well, clearly, the very fact that this trial is taking place has created a lot of tension, a lot of controversy, and sadly enough, a lot of victims as well. Charlie Hebdo decided to republish those caricatures before the trial because the editor-in-chief said they felt more alone than they've ever felt since those attacks. There was a show of solidarity, as we were just told, yes, but this has essentially vanished. And so they thought that republishing those caricatures would galvanize support. The problem, of course, it has also galvanized the opponents of Charlie Hebdo, and sometimes in very violent ways. So this trial has been a long, complicated, chaotic trial because of COVID, because it's a difficult trial because it's essentially not the main perpetrators. The three main perpetrators were killed during the action, and the three main other culprits are tried in absentia. So there was a lot of frustration from the victims' part because they knew the real perpetrators are not sitting in the box. So this was already a very difficult trial, and it has proven to be difficult because how involved are the defendants is a very, very difficult proof to really assess. And this is why it has been a complicated trial and not the cathartic trial that the victims and Charlie Hebdo was hoping for.
Now, President Emmanuel Macron gave a speech regarding a proposed Republican principles bill last month, which caused a lot of upset, even saw him accused of Islamophobia by some. How do you see the French government line on this since Macron came to power?
Well, clearly this has changed. Macron has been criticized for being too lenient when it comes to this issue in terms of naming radical Islam as the enemy. Right now, he has done so, and people are saying that he's actually going too far. We've seen this controversy we just talked about around the trial, and the fact that after the tragic attacks that we've seen, the president, the government, have come down hard and they've pushed through this bill. They've taken a number of measures. They're saying we're defending the freedom of speech, the freedom of blasphemy, and so on. This is very French. Those are our values, but there's been a huge misunderstanding with many countries around the world, especially Muslim countries, but this has also created tension with the Muslim community here in France. Some of them have said they feel that they're being stigmatized, and the government is walking a very fine line between affirming the rights to freedom of expression, the French-style secularism, and not infringing on others' beliefs. And so this is a very, very difficult moment for the government. This major bill is going to be debated in Parliament at the beginning of next year, and it's even creating tensions within Emmanuel Macron's own party. And this is really new because until then, they had been steadfast in the support for the president. But this issue of Islam in France, of freedom of expression, is really creating some serious rift within the ruling party.
Mm-hmm. Now, Charlie Hebdo's editor, who you mentioned, he said that a verdict should, quote, bring closure to the cycle of violence. This has been a political, social, emotional ordeal for everyone here in France. Will it provide closure, do you think?
Hopefully for the families, but certainly not for the country. Sadly enough, it's true that those years have been rough years, and the show of solidarity, the willingness really to say, okay, we're all in this together, has disappeared. Now, many countries have been hit by terrorism. They're trying to cope. And now you have, obviously, the context of COVID, where each country is essentially looking after after its interests. So there is this lack of solidarity, especially with Charlie Hebdo. Even we've seen some pretty strong controversies between some leading American or British media and the French president and the French government on this very issue. And so clearly, when he says he hopes this will bring closure, I think this is essentially wishful thinking, because he knows the answer is probably no.
Thank you very much, Marc Perelman, there with insight on the initial rulings coming out of that trial here in Paris.